Spider-Man No Way Home is going to be giving us a ton of villains. Perhaps too many for one film if you ask some people, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Having all these bad guys kicking around on the big screen has got me thinking. Out of all of the wall crawler's iconic baddies, who would I rank at the top? Who is the most dangerous? Who has had the largest impact on the life of Peter Parker? Which is something I've decided to explore in video form, since, that's kind of what I do for a living. In this video, I'm going to be going through a pretty substantial chunk of Peter Parker's rogues gallery and ranking them from worst to best. So without any more of this yammering on, let's go ahead and dive right into it with the first entry on our list. Let's start this off with a character whose very existence answers the question of what would happen if you were to take your basic, low-level goon and give them superpowers. You'd get the Sandman. That's what happens. William Baker, aka Flint Marko, was your regular run-of-the-mill petty criminal, just trying to make his way in the world, until a freak accident mutated him, turning him into a being made up completely of living sand. Discovering that he could manipulate his shape at will, even going so far as to be able to take on the form of a sandstorm, Baker quickly started using his powers for nefarious means. However, after numerous battles against not just Spider-Man, but the Fantastic Four on several occasions as well, it became pretty clear that Sandman isn't really much of a threat when he's on his own. In a group, however, he is capable of quite a bit more, probably why he is often seen as a member of the Sinister Six. And despite being a part of that villainous team, he hasn't always been a bad guy exclusively. In fact, at one point, he was a probationary Avenger, when he was trying to reform himself a little bit. Didn't last long though, naturally. Maxwell Dillon didn't exactly lead the best life. Between coming from a broken home and a low-paying blue-collar job, things seemed like they just couldn't get much worse for him. That is, until his wife left him for a man with a better job. Having hit rock bottom, you can understand why someone like him would turn to a life of crime, especially after developing superpowers due to a freak accident. Taking on the name Electro, Dillon discovered that he had been granted the ability to generate and manipulate electrical currents, being able to do stuff such as channeling them into massive blasts. If that wasn't crazy enough, later on he seemed to develop the ability to transform his physical form into pure electricity, allowing him to travel at fast speeds along power lines and access places he wouldn't normally be able to get to. However, he has one major weakness that Spider-Man has found and exploited on several different occasions. Basically, Electro has to avoid anything that might cause his electrical powers to short out, as it were. So doing stuff such as hitting him with a ton of water or other such highly conductive substances, or even going the opposite direction and trying to ground him out, have proven to be effective means of containing him. So for no other reason than it being relatively easy to take advantage of a pretty massive weakness, Electro gets to take a lower spot on this list. Though he does get some serious bonus points for being one of the first supervillains the Webhead ever faced off against. When talking about special effects artists, a common thing that people will call them is wizards, as a lot of what they are capable of seems like borderline magic to those of us who don't really know what is going on behind the scenes. In the case of Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, this is extra applicable. Capable of creating hyper-realistic illusions utilizing chemical hallucinogens and complex mechanical constructs, Mysterio has managed to trick some of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe. For example, in the Old Man Logan story arc, Mysterio was shown tricking Wolverine into thinking that a ton of supervillains were attacking the X-Men's base of operations, causing him to go into one of his patented berserker rages. One problem though, there were no actual villains there. Instead, he just wound up butchering the entire X-Men team, as well as a ton of young mutant students, giving us one of the most brutal and tragic moments in comic history, all due to Mysterio's illusions. So he's pretty flippin' powerful, no doubt. However, if someone like Spider-Man is able to get past his illusions, like he has on several different occasions, Mysterio is just a basic dude. No real superpowers to his name, so theoretically, he isn't that hard to take down. Still though, despite being kinda squishy, his powers have been enough historically to cause him to have a spot on most versions of the Sinister Six, so he isn't someone to take too lightly. Throughout the history of storytelling, some of the best characters have been born out of tragic circumstances. Among all of Spider-Man's foes, there are none more tragic than Dr. Curt Connors, aka the Lizard. First introduced as an ally and mentor of sorts for Peter Parker, Connors was a brilliant scientist who sought to find a way to regrow an arm that he lost while serving in the US military. His research caused him to take a look at certain species of reptiles, who possess the ability to regenerate lost limbs. He wound up developing a serum based upon reptilian DNA and injected himself with it. It caused him to begin regrowing his arm, yes, but it also caused him to take on lizard-like physical attributes, transforming him into a monstrous, bloodthirsty beast. So Spider-Man was ultimately forced to fight his former friend. And over the years, despite trying, Parker has never been able to truly cure Connors of his affliction. Instead, all that's really been able to be achieved has been Connors being able to sometimes regain control over himself. However, it's always just temporary, as anything can cause him to spiral, becoming the Beast again. Now, this entry might be kind of cheating, as he is a villain who's shown to be someone that a ton of different heroes regularly take on, but Spider-Man is one of his most common foils, so I'm counting it. Plus, there's no way that I could really rank Spider-Man related villains without at least mentioning Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin. The big papa crime lord of New York City may just appear to be your everyday mob boss, but he is way more formidable than that. He is cunning, manipulative, and completely uncompromising in his pursuit to consolidate control of New York's seedy underbelly. His ability to get people to do whatever it is that he wants them to is borderline inhuman, and when his charm and wit don't get him his way, he is capable of leaning pretty hard on anyone who proves to be an obstacle to his success. And I don't just mean through throwing goons at the problem, which he certainly does quite a bit. Fisk himself is a formidable fighter, having trained his entire life, allowing him to utilize his substantial bulk pretty effectively. And don't be fooled by his build. This behemoth of a man is nearly 400 pounds of pure muscle and rage. While he doesn't have any actual superpowers, he might as well, as he is able to use his strength beyond that of your everyday human. Now, say that Fisk sets his sight on you for whatever reason. You might think that you could just get away from him by avoiding New York City. No problem. Surely his reach doesn't go much beyond that. Wrong. Fisk has been shown to have influence with a ton of multinational groups, including flippin' Hydra, you know, the anti-freedom supervillain group with a penchant for dramatic hand gestures. So yeah, Kingpin is definitely a formidable foe for the Wallcrawler, and certainly one that you wouldn't want to mess with. Kraven the Hunter is a character that might not get the most attention among members of Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. He's the kind of guy that your mainstream audience member probably doesn't even know exists. However, this Russian aristocrat turned trained hunter and tracker is the focus of one of, if not the, most critically acclaimed story arc within Spider-Man's long history on the page. And honestly, telling you a little bit about Kraven's last hunt tells you all you really need to know about why this guy is such a powerful foe for the webhead. Believing himself superior to all, Kraven once hunted down and seemingly killed Spider-Man. After burying him, rather respectfully I might add, Kraven donned a copy of Spider-Man's suit and set out on the town. During his time posing as Spider-Man, he brutally beat down several petty criminals and managed to capture a villain called Vermin, whom Spider-Man had previously required the aid of Captain America to take care of himself. Soon though, Spider-Man, who had actually just been tranquilized by Kraven, awoke and dug himself out of the grave that he had been put in. He then confronted Kraven, who didn't put up any kind of resistance. He explained to the webhead that he had proven that he was above all others, proved that he was even a superior Spider-Man, so he had nothing left to fight for. He had won. He then released Vermin, whom Spider-Man was forced to chase down, leaving Kraven alone. After that, Kraven penned a note confessing what he had done to the Wallcrawler and took his own life, feeling that there was nothing else left for him to do. It was a shocking and dark storyline to be sure, but it does a lot to show you the kind of man that Kraven is. Or I guess was, because, you know. Alright, look, you knew that Venom was going to make his way onto this list sooner or later. Sure, this black goo monster that used to serve as a fancy suit for Spider-Man before they had a rather violent falling out has proven over the last 2 decades or so that he is far more interested in being a hero, or at the very least an anti-hero, than he is being a villain. But he is still considered a member of Spider-Man's rogues gallery, so he is valid to put on this list. Possessing nearly all of Peter Parker's special abilities, plus greater strength and the versatility of the alien symbiote, which comes with the added bonus of being completely invisible to Parker's spider sense somehow, Venom is a formidable foe. On top of that, his knowledge of Parker's secret identity has also allowed him to attack Spider-Man in much more personal ways than almost all of his other villains. So despite the fact that Venom and Spider-Man have come to develop somewhat of an uneasy truce over the years, their shared history has made it so that the two will more than likely never trust each other fully. To know thine enemy, one must first know thyself. This old adage is meant to get people to look inward, trying to find the reason for why they might hate someone. But it kinda falls apart in the case of Dr. Otto Octavius, aka Doc Ock, a man who not only proved to be one of the most dangerous and iconic villains Spider-Man has ever gone up against, but also not too bad of a Spider-Man himself. Some might even say that he was the superior Spider-Man? Sorry, bad joke. Doc Ock is a bad guy who has perhaps managed to get the upper hand over the webhead more than any other member of his rogues gallery, which can be chalked up to a few different things. First and foremost is the fact that the guy is a certified genius. Before he turned to a life of crime and became the Octopus, Octavius was a gifted researcher and scientist. In fact, the fancy arms he is famous for were developed and built by himself, and he has used this intellect to enact some extremely devious schemes, such as the time that he managed to switch bodies with Parker, trapping him in a frail and dying body, while Otto went on to take over as Peter Parker, becoming a more ruthless and efficient version of Spider-Man. And we also cannot forget that Octavius was the one who initially founded the Sinister Six, the supervillain group who has given Peter Parker more trouble than any other supervillain team ever. Taking all of this into consideration and combining with it the fact that he is such a beloved character among fans everywhere, how could I not put Octavius this high on the list? Heck, he probably honestly would have been number 1 if not for the sheer power of the 2 remaining entries. What do you get when you take everything that makes Venom a threat, but take away his sense of right and wrong and sprinkle in a little bit of homicidal tendencies? You get the Red Menace known as Carnage. The unwanted offspring of Venom was already bad enough. A rogue symbiote that wished to bring death to not just his father, but pretty much everyone else. However, once he bonded with the serial killer Cletus Cassidy, this guy became the thing nightmares are made of. Since his first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man number 345, Carnage has cut a bloody swath through the Marvel Universe, causing so much death and destruction that he has on numerous occasions served as the catalyst that has caused Spider-Man and Venom to put aside their differences and work together, which is no small feat. However, there is one villain that has managed to make a large enough impact in the life of Peter Parker to rank even higher than the nightmare that is Carnage. But don't worry, we aren't totally done with the Red Menace just yet. Come on, you knew that Green Goblin was going to be taking the top spot on this. There's no other villain who has managed to leave such a lasting impact on not just Spider-Man, but on comic history itself. Norman Osborn is arguably the arch nemesis of the Wallcrawler, and for good reason. He is the villain who handed Peter Parker his first true defeat and failure, being the one responsible for the death of Gwen Stacy, an event that still to this day has lasting effects on Peter Parker's life. It also set a precedent within comics that no character is truly safe, but you aren't really here for the meta history of the comic industry. Now, what makes Osborn so dangerous isn't just what he's done in the past to Spider-Man, it's how he actually goes about doing things, as his preferred means of attacking people is not just coming at them with pumpkin bombs, but by breaking them down to their core, either through psychological or emotional torture. Though that doesn't really mean that he can't get his hands dirty. He has some serious tech that he can utilize for maiming and slaying, from the aforementioned pumpkin bombs to his iconic glider to hallucinogenic toothpaste. And remember how I said we weren't done with Carnage yet? Well, Osborn once bonded with the Crimson Symbiote, becoming perhaps one of the most horrifyingly powerful foes Spider-Man has ever gone up against, the Red Goblin. For that fact alone, Goblin would get this spot on the list. But when you couple all of that with his history, he is more than deserving of the #1 ranking. Hey there everybody, I'm John Algetz. I made this video, and I want to know what you think. How would you rank the Spider-Man villains? Let me know in the comments below or shoot me a response over on Twitter. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to CBR for more great videos just like this in the future.